Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of AntWalk Thought Academy. We are joined by Mr. V. Krishnan, who is an ex-CHRO of Havells India, and he has been the HRED for Dabur India for for over a decade. He's a certified Marshall Goldman coach, and he's an ICF certified coach as well. So it is an absolute pleasure to have you on this conversation, and you know, I look forward to having some good conversation, some good fruitful things coming out of this conversation with Antwalk.
Thank you, Ganshu. Thanks for the invite, and it's always a pleasure to interact with edtech and startups because it's a very exciting world, a lot of new innovative things happening, and glad to be part of this conversation and look forward to sharing my thoughts and of course learning in the process also. So good to go.
It's wonderful here that as we say at Antwalk that we should learn from the best people out there, and you are also still looking to learn. So I'm very sure it will be a learning process both ways. So we'll get this conversation, this interview started, and there is a lot of talk about AI in the world, right? Right now there is like everybody's you meet, they talk about artificial intelligence and how it is going to disrupt everything. So, how, in your opinion, it is going to affect the HR and the L&D function of organizations?
Um, I think let me begin by saying that look, I'm not an AI expert or a techie. I'm more of a tech enthusiast who has tried to use technology and digital technologies in the space of human resource management. So I'll try to begin by demystifying this word AI for a better understanding from a day-to-day perspective and not from a techie understanding. And I credit this to I was doing a lot of reading. One thing I found a very interesting definition from Deloitte. And according to them, how they define AI is that AI is a theory and development of computer systems which are able to perform tasks which normally would require human intelligence. So that's how they have very simply defined it. And this has led to kind of development of a lot of adjunct cognitive technologies, which in individually or combination form the basis of AI. And some of the cognitive technologies are things like NLP or natural language processing or machine language or computer vision or speech recognition or robotics and things like that. So at a very basic level, NLP or natural language processing is used for quick understanding of large text. For example, a CV scan. When in a large volume hiring, it's not humanly possible to go through every CV. It kind of helps in doing a first level filtering. Or when you're going through some kind of a legal case judgment, and there are reams and reams of paper of the judgment, and so there are today technologies available to quickly scan through the document and tell you what is the gist of what is being said in that document. So these are some of the applications that I've seen and used. And machine language is, of course, an area where a lot of large amount of data which needs to be analyzed with speed and agility and come out with some kind of predictive modeling is where I think it is very useful. And in HR, one has used it for predictive talent management, looking at sales forecasting into the future at an individual level and aggregate level and predict the kind of sales incentives people are likely to earn. So those are certain areas where the machine language kind of areas are being used. Machine language and NLP together have been a good combination on chatbots, especially when employees are to be onboarded. Earlier there was a time when I was, young and making my career. For everything, you used to have go-to person in HR. We used to have all the knowledge of the policies, and everybody keeps. So he was almost like an inquiry office. Today, then it evolved to a stage where companies start putting all the policies on the intranet. But there again, the problem used to be with so many PDFs out there. How do you figure out what do you have to open? So today with the chatbots, which are obviously powered by ML and NLP technologies, it's very easy to get your queries answered in terms of policy, personal information like leave balance, or you want to plan a leave with your family. So what is a long weekend coming, or any other self-service kind of thing, which is nowadays all getting into these kind of things. Uh, a very common use of computer vision is, of course, recognition-based attendance. And So you can't budget, especially in factories in blue collar environment where large volumes of people are walking in, walking out, there are shifts running. So face recognition is a fantastic computer vision based application. I'm talking very rudimentary and basic applications which have come into the system so far. So these are very initial simple use cases which we can write based on a logic-based algorithm and get an activity or output going and freeing up human time so that people are free to use higher order work. Now the challenge in HR is, while on one hand we have a lot of qualitative and quantitative markers and data around performance rating, competencies, job descriptions, employee engagement scores, psychometric profiling, and things like that. The challenge still remains to be that how do you get AI to facilitate an employee deliver his or her best performance? You know, so 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 that is, I think, is still the holy grail which nobody has been able to touch. This is crucial because a significant portion of HR cost still goes into salary, and performance, to my mind, is a combination of three factors. Though people tend to assume that performance is only an individual's capability, according to me, it has three factors: an individual's capability, the environment in which he or her is operating, and the manager to whom that person is reporting or leading him or the team. It is a multiplication of three factors. And if any of these factors is zero, the performance becomes zero. So, so apart from capability, we also have to manage and the other markers and measure this, environment, culture, leadership style. And the challenge is that the culture of one organization may be great for one person and absolutely lousy for another. The manager may be a fantastic boss for one person, but absolutely a nightmare for another person. So, when you come to these subjective markers, I don't think AI has still been able to crack the code. So, while a lot of programmable and predictive available intelligence kind of work, and we have seen use cases of that. But whatever is judgmental, where multi-sensory decisions have to be made, where there's a lot of fuzziness in the parameters around which you're trying to make decisions, I think AI still has to go a long way. And the jury is out, and let's see, what this field brings forth in future.
Absolutely, absolutely. You pointed out right that when you're dealing with people, it is not one factor, multiple factors that lead to that person's performance, and then you have thousands of people coming together to deliver what is an organizational capability. So that leads me to the next question. Now, what are some ways, according to you, wherein you can build organizational capabilities that leverage growth in a business? With this, all businesses have growth on their mind, right? So how do you build organizational capabilities for that?
I think it's a very interesting question, and it's an area where I've thought a lot, and I've tried to, in my own small way, try to contribute also. I think every organization, whether small or big or public listed or private limited or a startup or whatever kind of organization, I think at the end of the day, it all begins with a growth mindset. Because India is one of the few countries which is growing at a GDP growth rate of 6%. Not many countries have that kind of growth thing. So we are a country which is growing, and we want to grow. And that can only happen that every business entity, big or small, it doesn't matter. It should have a growth ambition. Because in business, if you're not growing, then you will start dying. So you have to have a growth oriented thinking in your whole approach. And then this aspiration to growth has to be structured. Like, for example, if you feel that your business could grow, say, on a revenue basis by, say, a CAGR of 15%, 18%, 20%, whatever you think. So, first of all, you should have clarity on where this growth is going to come from. Is it going to come from new products? Is it going to come from new channels? Is it going to come from new geographies? Where is this growth going to come from? And then once you're clear about this, and you're clear about what is going to be the investment to deliver this growth in terms of people, processes, technology, what is the kind of EBITDA and PBT you think you'll be able to achieve, and of course that has to be then bought and owned, this vision, by the leadership team. So definitely to begin with. It is the CEO or the leader or the founders along with the immediate team. They should own and believe in this group and have a passion to achieve. Once you have that, when this is in place, then then the next thing comes is, if this is your strategy for growth, then what is the structure to support it? What kind of org structure do you think will support that? And then the most important thing comes that, if the structure, how are you going to populate this structure? How are you going to staff it? How are you going to get talent to fill this structure? You know, and that is where I would say the real challenge starts. So, however cliche it might sound, I still feel that the only differentiator or competitive advantage that any organization can have, big or small, are its people. Because I feel that your products will get either copied very soon, or something better will come in the market. Your technology will get replicated, its clones will come, somebody will re-engineer and make a better version of it. So holding on to those advantages will be all short term. The point is the quality of people you have. If they believe in the passion of that growth, and you have the right people with the right, who have that attitude of learning, unlearning, and relearn. And I think, like Alvin Toffler had said, that the illiterate of the future will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I think he said that decades ago, but I think it is still very relevant today. We live in a very, very dynamic environment, where what is right today is absolutely irrelevant tomorrow. So we need to have a workforce which is willing to learn, which is willing to innovate, which is agile, which is constantly on this hunt of what is the next new thing and the differentiator that I can create for my company. So if these are the essential ingredients to build an organization, then you can have systems and process in terms of learning platforms, opportunity to learn, opportunity to grow. But I think investing in people who believe in your vision, in that growth story, and are willing to go that extra mile to develop those kind of products and services which are differentiated in the market. And for that, the promoters need to have to establish the right kind of culture. I think the promoters have only set the vision in place, put the investments, have the right culture, have the right kind of people who fit into that culture, and I think ensure that they have resources to learn and grow. I think rest will fall into place by itself.
Absolutely. Now, what we believe at AntWalk is that people are going to be the only lever which can bring you competitive advantage in the future, right? And as you rightly said, so we might be, the largest human resource on the planet, but all companies, all enterprises, they still struggle to find that person who believes is the right cultural fit and has the right performance drive to it is almost like, yeah, you're in the ocean but you don't have the right drinkable water, right? So you have water all around you, but you're looking for that. That point was very well made, sir. Now in the last 3 years we have all grown to working remotely. We are all part of distributed workforce, wherein now companies have a very different problem, wherein people are sleeping into working in silos. I was talking to my friend recently who's at a very senior position, and he was saying that my challenge is to how to create teams that collaborate, a point that you brought in your talk as well, right? So how is that now, how can employee engagement be driven, say, in virtual environments, to break these silos that people are slowly getting used to working in?
Yes, Anshu, it's a very valid question, and I think many of us in organizations have kind of faced these challenges, and addressed to some extent. Some are still grappling with it. I fundamentally feel the answer to the question lies in the question itself. I strongly feel silos are a result of people not being engaged. Okay, so like in the real world, we need to ensure that our team members are feeling connected, informed, and involved in matters pertaining to them. You know, just because you're not sitting in the real world across the table and you're operating through a laptop or whatever is your device, the fundamental needs of people, I think, at a very basic level, and a deep level, is still the same. People want to feel connected, that they are part of an ecosystem, and they want to feel informed, because in a real world, being informed is easier. You walk around, there are coffee machines, there are water coolers. You walk to the cafeteria or something. There is a lot of osmosis process by which information kind of comes around you, and you are kind of you're absorbing it. Your multi-sensory absorption is happening. So, but when you're in a virtual world, it is invariably a one-to-one or one-to-many kind of a connection. It is not a serendipitous kind of a communication which happens in the real world. So, a leader has to be very, very careful to ensure that his team is connected, informed, and involved in matters pertaining to them at a personal level and at a work level. Because the fear of not being involved or informed is the beginning of disengagement, right? Secondly, a leader also has to be very, very sensitive and empathetic to people's spoken and unspoken cues. Because it is in a team situation, we're talking about 10, 15, 20 people. At the end of the day, what you're saying is some 1 inch by 1 inch stamp size of some 20 faces out there. It's very difficult to figure out who is listening, who is engaging, and many people. Um, I heard this term when I heard this term called social anxiety. Someone the other day said there's also something called a digital anxiety. A lot of people are not very comfortable, opening and speaking from a stamp size of 20 faces out there, and so many people don't tend to speak. They kind of they're not comfortable talking, they're not comfortable airing their views, because in the real world, such people would have probably not spoken there, let the meeting get over, and spoken to the concerned person or the leader on a one-to-one basis. So it is also important that the leader senses people who are speaking, people who are not speaking, reach out to them one on one, figure out what is bothering them. Is there something they wanted to say they were not comfortable saying there? So this whole thing is about being sensitive to people's need to connect, be informed, and have a certain sense of assurance, and that will come only with a high level of empathy on the leader's side. We should also need to be empathetic to the fact that, of course, now things have improved. Not everybody's home situation may be conducive to a home working. You know, there may be constraints of space, noise, privacy, there's space being shared by many other people, and and especially at the junior level, it can lead to anxieties and awkwardness of various situations. So one needs to be sensitive to even that. And one needs to also keep in mind that when you're when somebody is operating from home, it is actually the office which is intruding into that personal space. You know, technically, if you see, because originally that home ecosystem was not designed for working like an office. So one needs to be sensitive to some of these things, and so I think an empathetic and sensitive person who reaches out to his team, ensure that they are informed, connected, their concerns are kind of taken care of. I think that will go a long way in people feeling engaged, people having the comfort of reaching out if they have a problem. Otherwise, you can run into this very classical scenario of like when you were students, we learned the art of being able to sleep with our eyes open in the classroom. I think I think many of these virtual meetings tend to become like that. That people come and many of them will have bandwidth issues. Their videos will be off. Their mic will be off. You don't even know whether the person is even engaged. So I think that's what I would say. So engagement in a virtual world is not easy, and the leader has to take that extra effort to ensure engagement. That's what I would say.
Absolutely spot on, and that is where a lot of models are developing. Wherein in our company as well, people have come up to us and from strange quarters that this is how we want to possibly do it, right? So now we are talking about city-wide meetups, or and as you said, this absorption of information as you walk around the office was so great, and now it is just one laptop that kind of talks to you, and that is where, and if four people start talking on that laptop, it becomes very, very incoherent. So some of the points that you made were very, very valid.
Papa,
Now
take care of
one
the
part of that
phone.
is,
Papa, no, don't take care of the phone. Just
oh please.
I'll use this one. Come.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so question around is that a lot of companies have been trying to participate and drive L&D opportunity inside the organizations, right? And one of the challenges from L&D has been to make people participate in it, right? I have had HRs come to us and say that, Sudhanshu, we can drive, we do a TNA, we take requests from people of what they want to learn, and when we do those sessions, nobody turns up. So how do we ensure that employees are motivated in to participate in this L&D opportunities inside an organization?
I think it's a brilliant question. I think it's something I think all of us have been grappling. I think my view on this is that I think that time has gone where L&D was seen as the L&D organization or the HR organization's driven function. Like you said, it's a very classical approach that you do an annual appraisal, there's a PMS, then there is a training needs analysis or TNA or TNI we do, then we come out with the needs, then we put a battery of programs, then we put a calendar, we keep following up people to chase, to sign up. I think that what was happening was it was as if the need for learning was more from the L&D function or the HR function than the person who needs to learn. I think the biggest shift in the mindset shift and the cultural shift which needs to happen is the onus of learning has to move the employee and supported by his or her manager. I think that is a fundamental shift which needs to happen. Okay, organizations can provide resources. Organization can provide learning platforms either in a technology enabled way, using an element of something or through classroom and instructor-led training or programs or whatever. But the realization that we are living in a dynamic world where the onus of keeping myself upskilled and stay relevant lies with me is a realization that employees need to start internalizing soon. And they need to understand that, look, going forward, at least the way I see it, I belong to a much earlier era than most of you, where things like academic background, pedigree, your experiences had a lot of value. I'm not saying they don't have value, but today, equivalent or more important will become the skills you bring to the table. What can you deliver on the table? What is the experiences you come in with? And the kind of dynamism and the kind of course, there are a lot of words like buka and bani and things like that. I don't want to get into that. But we're living in such a dynamic world. What the skill I have or what is the experience I have may absolutely become irrelevant in next 12 to 18 or 24 months. So therefore, it is the onus has to be on the employee to keep themselves, upgraded, relevant, and like I said, Alan Toffler's word, learn, unlearn, and relearn. Organization can only provide resources, platforms, and investments. But I think if employees still tend to operate that I was not aware of this program and nobody called me and I didn't know the calendar didn't come to me and my boss didn't nominate me, I think that era is over. People who continue to operate in the era will become outdated soon. So I think that is where I would say it's more of a cultural and mindset shift than anything.
Absolutely. As you rightly said, this learning, unlearning, relearning. Earlier, in my parents' organization, my father shifted just one job. He was a teacher and then he became a professor. But then, no, that learning curve, he didn't have to undergo that learning curve multiple times. For us, it comes now. So in my generation, it usually is like every 3 to 5 years you undergo that learning curve because that is how it is all. And now it's for people who are 10, 15 years younger to me, for them that comes possibly every year, right? And that you are in a constant flux when it comes to
Yeah,
information, you are in a constant flux when you come to skills. So this
yeah,
what you said, right? The onus of my growth is solely on me, and it's not like we're not in school where the teacher has to come with us with either a carrot or a stick to make us learn. It has to be our own initiatives, and that is how uh, HRs and learning and development teams need to think about it, right? So finally, we kind of started there, in terms of how roles, responsibilities, and skilling has changed. How have you seen the roles and responsibility of an HR function in an organization evolve throughout your career?
Yeah, that second is very, very, very interesting question. I still remember when I was a kid. Maybe I was in my primary school. My dad he was a textile engineer, and he used to work with a very large textile company, and he used to work in a factory. In those days, the department was known as labor department, because the only role of was of managing people and workmen and admin and IR and things like that. Then slowly the name moved to personnel department. It was PERSONELL, personnel department. Then it kind of moved to HRD department, human resource development. Now the whole thing has moved to employee experience or EXP, right? So I think the function has evolved significantly with time. And employee experience today is all about the soft touch in terms of the touch and feel of the workplace, the culture, the organization systems and processes. Now, what we also need to keep in mind is that India being a young country, a lot of our employees are predominantly from the younger Gen Y or a Gen Z, which is going to be getting into the workforce. And all these Gen Y and Gen Z community are digital natives who have grown up in what is very classically called the FANG ecosystem. You know, the Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google ecosystem. So for them, when they have to deal with an organizational process or system, anything which doesn't look like working through an Amazon app or opening a Netflix this thing, that is the interface they expect. And so therefore, from a technology point of view, employee experience has become a very, very crucial factor, because anything to do with paper, clunky systems, bureaucratic, not not speedy enough, not agile enough, they just abhor. In fact, those are reasons for which some of them even not want to work in those organizations, right? The second, of course, is the softer part of the culture, the smell and feel of the workplace. Do you respect me for what I bring as a whole human being? Do you respect my interests? You respect my hobbies, apart from the skills and capabilities for the time. So the whole thing now is, while I come to the office and I work 8, 9, 10 hours here, I also have interests beyond my work. So please respect that also, right? And this new employee also has a lot of focus on mental health, wellness, recreational time, a lot of focus on ESG, in the organization, how focused are they on environment, society, governance. So I think the whole employee experience piece is what has become center stage in organizations, and HR has started already playing a lot of role in some of these things. That's one significant change. The other thing we also saw it during the COVID time. I think that was probably the best leapfrogging the HR function went through, because we were on the forefront of using digital technologies for managing COVID. I clearly remember in my last role when we were almost discovering every day, there's a vaccine, then there's a booster, and there's a gap between them, and there's a second dose. So we actually were reaching our employee self-service app along with IT on an almost dynamic basis. People are not coming to office, so how do you enable them to load their certificate? How do you to give them reminders that your this 90 days is over, go for a second one? How do you help them load their booster this thing? How to help connect people with oxygen cylinder availability? I think we did a lot of work leveraging technology to help people. You know, so that was one big, I think, mindset that HR did on leveraging technology for helping people. Second, of course, I think HR also realized that a lot of the HR policies and processes that we had made were not suitable for the kind of situation we were handling. So we learned to move away for looking at the policies from from like moving away from letter to spirit, because the document as that English was not meant for the environment in which you are operating. So you need to go beyond the policy to look at the spirit of what the help is required rather than the letter. And third, of course, maintaining business continuity. So you had to maintain the health of the business and health and wellness of your people. You've got employees who are not only struggling, they're struggling with their family issues, those emotional challenges. So at the same time, a business needs to be protected. If the business doesn't survive, then how are you going to, take care of uh, economic well-being of your employees? So I think all these experiences also took, I think, the HR function to a very different orbit. So today, I think the HR leader has evolved to a very holistic leader who is able to look at task and people in a very balanced way and in a very complete way without having a skew on either direction. And no wonder today that a lot of CEO profiles have come from HR roles. There are enough and more examples that today HR heads are being looked at for CEO roles. I think that is what is the transition that I've seen from the HR function from a very back-end support kind of a function to front-end business leading function, which is able to look at people and business issues in a very holistic and well-balanced way.
So if we look at points, I absolutely agree with the last point that you made. If we look at the balance sheets or the P&L statements of some of the biggest companies, the biggest cost sitting there is the people's cost, right? And therefore the HR needs to be very very involved, look at people more holistically, because if you have more involved, more driven, more productive employees, it has a direct positive impact on your revenue, which is your top line. And if you have similar people who are who are involved, passionate, productive at work, it drives down employee costs as well because of lesser attrition, lesser cost of lateral hires, which is both has a double positive impact on the bottom lines, right? So the HR is not just a function which looks at human resources, but it is now which can directly contribute in a very positive way to organizational growth. It can help people align in how organizations have to grow in future. So any parting thoughts? It was lovely talking to you, and as an HR professional myself, I there were a lot of good inputs for me as well, and it's a learning experience for me, and I'm very sure that it would be a learning experience for all those who will watch this interview later. So any parting thoughts, any comments, sir?
Well, I would only say that still there's a lot of work to be done in the HR space. I think I totally echo with what you said just now. I think the best situation would be if every HR professional starts having a mind of a business head, and every business head starts having the heart and soul of an HR professional. I think if that can happen, that is the best thing to do. The other, I think, important area where I think organizations will have to start focusing, and of course, where HR will have a very major role to play, is about diversity and inclusion. I think, unfortunately, I mean, in India, even now, diversity we still read at only as gender diversity. While I do agree that that's a huge area to work on, and we still have not done enough. But I think diversity has many other facets to it also now, and because though we keep saying that India is in school we study social studies that we are an example of unity and diversity and things like that. But even today, I think we have, especially like I have worked in very B2C and FMCG oriented companies where moving a guy from south to north or north to south or east to west is a challenge. You transfer a guy and he may quit his job, but he will not go. So I think we still have diversity challenges at a very different level, and of course, and so I think we have a very diverse country. We have multiple cultural, multiple languages. We are a multi-generational country. We have baby boomers to Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So the organization is also a microcosm of the society at large. So I think the challenge of diversity and inclusion is going to be in large organizations that how do you manage this multi-generational diversity and its diverse needs and expectation and aspiration, and yet deliver on the vision of growth. So I think that is what is going to be we should be the focus area, juxtaposed with environmental sensitivity. I think we have taken a lot from the environment. I think we are clearly saying that we started paying prices for it. I think we have unseasonal rains, unseasonal droughts, water shortages, and things like that. I think these are two important areas which I think organizations along with HR, I think, should start focusing on immediately.
Uh, Definitely, and that possibly warrants another discussion at a later time where we can dig deeper into both these challenges of greater inclusivity and a greater sensitivity around what's the environment and other things, right? So, but from Antwerp, what I can say is that it has been wonderful talking to you. Some really wonderful points coming up. So, thank you so much.